everyone. Welcome to the vBrownBag Wednesday show. The vBrownBag is an IT practitioner podcast that is done by IT pros for IT pros. My name is Damian Carlson. I am one of tonight's hosts. We may have another host joining us in a bit, Mr. Roger. You can find me on Twitter. I'm at 6footdad. I like doing tall, nerdy things, and that is me. Our guest tonight is Andrew Brown. He's going to talk to us about how to future-proof your tech job from GenAI. Andrew?
Hey everybody, I'm Andrew Brown. I'm also a 6 foot a 6 foot dad. Yeah, I'm really excited here to talk about generative AI. I'm sure people have not heard about this technology, so I'm really excited to be the first to talk about it in all existence. But I'm having a bit of a hard time today because I have all the. I'm not sure if you're a huge Star Trek fan, but I have all these figurines for Star Trek, and unfortunately, my favorite captain, Captain Benjamin Sisko, uh, is fallen off the wall, and he's now no longer pristine. So I'm not going to make my money back from this wonderful Star Trek figurine, but that's okay. So
So
it's
you
just sitting on my desk. Pardon?
so you had them on the wall?
Yeah, I have a bunch on the wall, but I guess I opened the door too hard, and it just fell off the shelf, and then somehow just it all fell out. So yeah.
Sorry, my internet
Oh,
went weird.
okay. I thought it was me. I thought it was
No,
like I thought I was being weird, but anyway,
no.
that's okay.
So a very pressing question is, Cisco is your favorite?
Yeah, I like Cisco. Cisco is definitely my favorite Star Trek captain, and I really like Deep Space Nine. But I like all types of shows, but that's definitely one of my go tos.
Yeah, yeah. I watched Deep Space Nine, but I'm definitely a Picard guy. So
Well, I mean, they're all great.
yeah.
But anyway, so I have a very well prepared presentation today, and by that I mean I literally have slides open because we're just gonna have a fun time exploring and seeing what we can unravel here, and we'll see what we can get out of my head as I've
Okay.
been spending a lot of time in generative AI. As everybody else, I my hate factor for Gen AI is, I don't know, probably like a 7 right now, but I'm heavily invested in knowing as much as I can know about it. But let me go ahead and share my screen. I'm going to choose this one here. And what I would love to show here is this beautiful Gen AI roadmap that I've been working on. And so I'm hoping that everybody out there can see it. But this is something that I've been working on with a quite a few people in the community. So I just want to point out that when I go out and I put these things together, I'm trying to reach to as many friends, as many experts, because I believe that an opinion one is not enough. We need to have all kinds of opinions and perspectives to make sure we have something that's going to be well balanced and stuff like that. And so there are a lot of different certifications. People know me for certification content, but there's a lot of generative certification content coming out. Like we have the AWS AI practitioner, the Azure AI engineer associate, NVIDIA has a cert, Intel has a cert, Google has yet to create one. More are on their way. But the issue that I'm finding with a lot of the materials that are coming out, it's not certification, is a lot of the learning is around very specific platforms. And I don't think that that's the reflection of actually how it's going to be utilized, because at the end of the day, companies want to save money, they want to be able to secure their data, et cetera, et cetera. And so I'm hoping that with this roadmap that we're getting a more realistic picture of what people actually want to utilize Gen AI, and also that we can cut through that Gen AI hype cycle and talk about where it's going to be useful and where it's not going to be useful, right? And what kind of skills that we already have that we can translate over to Gen AI. So, Damien, my question to you is, where are you at in your Gen AI journey? Are you a Gen AI Jedi now, or are you still a Padawan? And we've lost your audio, but we'll give it a moment to kick back
Yes.
in. There we go. Yep.
Yes. So there's this button called mute, right? And
Mm,
I'm just learning about it today, but I'm doing my
mm.
best. I would say that I'm a Jedi Padawan. I am not that great with crafting the prompts, but I have had some good experiences with Gen AI platforms, Claude, ChatGPT, GitHub Copilot, Amazon Q, sort of. But they've also been kind of prone to make things up. So
Mm.
that's pretty annoying,
Yeah,
especially when you know they're wrong.
yeah, and so, I've had the same experience, but, I've learned that, every tool is built different, and there are ways that we can, get the level of performance, that we want out of these things. I think where a lot of people are entering into the Gen AI space is they're looking for that low-hanging fruit, and what's the lowest hanging fruit? You open up, something like ChatGPT, right? You start using it, and you expect good results, but the issue with just using ChatGPT vanilla like this is that you're not going to always get the results that you want, or whether it's ChatGPT, Claude Sonnet, or Gemini Pro, or whichever, or you download a model using Olama. And so prompt engineering obviously is very important to it. But like I know for I think Anthropic Claude, they in a presentation they said, if you use it it's like, and you make a proper prompt document saying like the context of something, it's the difference between 30% and 70 to 80% performance, right? So it's like this huge jump. But the other challenge is that all of these models work a little bit differently. So your prompt document's not going to work as good here as it will elsewhere. And that's kind of a challenge, but definitely the entry point for a lot of people. And for those that are out there, you probably know that I'm working on a generative AI bootcamp. This material here that we're looking at the Gen AI roadmap is going to go into the Gen AI Essentials free course, which is going to go out to everybody when I've finished the entire landscape of Gen AI. But yeah, that's where we usually start out. And so here we are in Gen AI. And the other thing is that everybody thinks Gen AI, or mostly people think that Gen AI is just text generation, right? But there are many modalities to Gen AI. We have video, image, 3D, audio, and there's more than that. There's things for like a genomic coding. Um, but the thing is that the large the machine learning model is different for all of them, right? So for text generation, that's large language models. Where we're talking about let's say video generation, that is I think like CNNs and other kinds of things. But when you look at Gen AI, it's just machine learning. So if you've learned any skills with machine learning, or if you've learned any skills with data, or if you learn anything with ML ops or data DevOps, you're basically just applying them over here, and you really just have to do a lot of work of remapping the language that is used, if that makes sense there. So you know, Oh, and I think oh, no, I thought Roger was in Roger was in here, but it was just my screen down below. But yeah,
Yeah.
where it sounds like where you are in your journey is right here. So AI powered systems and prompt engineering. So, my question to you is how much do you know about all these types of things? Like chaining and tree of thought and zero shot and chain of thought.
Nothing. Nothing.
And so, these look like they're complex, but they're not that complicated. So like one example would be something like chain of thought. And I think I saw this on the Amazon Bedrock example here the other day, Amazon Bedrock workshops. If we go over to here for a moment, and we go into text generation, they show some of these examples of prompt engineering. And one in here, I think it was here, maybe here. Hmm, I know it's in here. Let's go back a second. Because it might be really nice to see that as an example. And yeah, we'll go to prompt engineering here. I believe it's over here. And if we go down here, yeah, we have a structure of a prompt. And so zero shot's pretty straightforward. The idea is that you're providing it no training, right? You're just saying, give me this, and I get back whatever, right? That's zero shot. That's how most people are utilizing their prompt engineering these days. Few shot would be providing examples, right? So here we are saying, and again, this is for text classification, but they're giving examples of like, this is what a negative tweet looks like. This is what a positive tweet looks like. So now you guess, right? And then chain of thought is where you are telling it to explain it step by step. And so if you've ever used Anthropic Claude, they've probably told you like, tell it to think out loud step by step. And that's what they're talking about, chain of thought. So these things are as simple as this. There's nothing too complex when it talks about prompt engineering. It's just techniques um, of how you're going to write your prompt. But to me, this is not that interesting. It's just where people start out. But after you get comfortable with your AI powered assistant, usually the next place is you play around with a workbench or playground. So, Damien, have you had a chance to spend any time in workbenches and playgrounds?
Um, no. Now that I think about it. It sounds like
Okay.
I'm gonna be perfect for your boot camp, Andrew.
Well, or that, or you could come on as a guest guest
It
instructor. You could do the workbenches and playgrounds. There's time to prepare. But
yeah.
so like AI powered assistant is obviously something that we see with ChatGPT here. But the thing is that we cannot integrate this really into our workloads or anything like this. This is a customer facing end product that's supposed to help you to your day to day tasks. But what if you want to start integrating these models here? Well, the next easiest route is using playgrounds, and playgrounds look very similar to this. I'll give an example with Cohere. And by the way, I love Cohere. Cohere is a Canadian company, and they build a bunch of models: Command R Plus, blah 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 blah, bunch of Command something models. Um, but they don't have an AI powered assistant. Uh, all they have is this really easy. I would call it like the best serverless option for working with um, a large language model that has lots of integrations into platforms. And so this playground looks like a very similar experience. I can go over here and just say, can you write me some SQL light code for a video game learning Japanese? Everything right now is me learning Japanese. So you're going to just see this 100 times over and over here, but we'll let this generate out. And it says it's going to do it. I'm not sure why it stopped. Oh, I didn't give enough information. I will have words, I will have scores, I will have reviews. Okay, we'll go ahead and hit enter. Okay, and so looks like a very similar experience, but where it changes is that if I go over to here, it gives me the code, right? And so I can now start taking this code and working with it. So a playground is an intermediate step to getting to implement these things programmatically, right? But playgrounds are usually tied to proprietary solutions or fully managed solutions, and this is a great way to get started. But eventually, when we graduate from working with these managed LMs, we're going to have a lot more control. But yeah, here is that example. But yeah, if you go over to ChatGPT, you don't see those options there, right? The
Yeah.
equivalent to ChatGPT is OpenAI. So you go to OpenAI, and I'm going to go over to here, and it'll look eerily similar, right? So we'll go ahead and log in. Let me in, OpenAI. And so here I am inside of here. And again, looks like a very similar interface, but this isn't intended to work the same way. It doesn't work the same way as ChatGPT. In fact, ChatGPT has extra things on top. And we would call this ChatGPT is what we call an agentic workflow because it has its own agency. It's an agent. It can do things that this one cannot do. And one example, and I don't necessarily have a PDF here, but if you were to try to upload a Word doc or PDF, this thing would start parsing it and spitting it back to you and doing stuff with it. But if you did it over here, it probably couldn't handle it because that is a component that is part of the agent. And so there's a lot more magic going on in here, but you can have that magic too. You just have to be able to identify those components and bring them along. But playgrounds start to show you the differences between them and starts to expose you to some of the options. And playgrounds are something you're going to come back to because often you'll want to debug and test things, but that's there. There are other ones that you can get. Like I think it's like Web LLM is one I saw today. Was it Web LLM? I think this is the right one. And so this is one you can download where you can use in browser LM interface. So the idea is this one's more for like open source. It's like an
Mm.
open source playground because um, you know open source ones don't usually have a playground per se. So you'd have to have some kind of a generic one like this one. But let's go back over to our roadmap. And so we are here on the playground. So what would you want to know after you kind of start understanding that, oh, there's more than one kind of model and there's limitations of it? You probably want to know about those kinds of models. There's all different kinds. And the one term you're going to hear a lot is foundational model. So, Damien, have you come across this term, foundational model? What
I
does it
have heard of
sound
that.
like to you? Okay.
Sounds like it's the very bottom. It's where you start, and then you
Yeah, and
build
so
on top of that.
yeah, and I was a bit confused by this term as because there's some other terms that are very similar. I'm sure I have a slide on this. We'll just go over to my slides. I got like hundreds and hundreds of slides here. Let's look for foundational model here for a moment. And so a foundational model, I would call it, is a general purpose model is trained on vast amounts of data. We say that that a foundation model is pre-trained because it's fine-tuned for specific tasks. But this could also be called a base model, right? Or we could call it a pre-trained model. So just understand that it's not that those are like it's just it happens to be those other things, right? So it happens to be those other things in the state of the workflow or pipeline. And so if you see that term, that's what it's going to mean.
Okay.
So foundational model normally means like it's general purpose, and we could fine tune it further to do other things if we have those capabilities. And yeah, there's obviously fine tune models. You'll hear about instruct models and embed models. And I was confused about embeddings at first, but now I totally understand them. And embeddings are just a way of, and I'm going to see if I got a slide for this as well. I got hundreds and hundreds of slides. And so we'll go ahead here and see if we can find something about embeddings. So all embeddings are is a way of storing text data in a vector store database. So just like a relational database stores information, you have relationships between tables, or like if you let's say you have a graph database, which will store nodes and nodes will attach to nodes. A vector database is more just for general text, and you're just generally grouping them together in a space in terms of relationship, if that makes sense. So in order to take advantage of a vector store database, you have to convert things into embeddings. And models, LLM models that are specifically designed to do embeddings are used for that, right? But
Hmm.
a foundational model doesn't understand embeddings, right? So you use an embedding model use an embedding model to take text to turn embeddings, store it in the database, and then you use when you take the data out of the database, you pass it back through the embeddings to turn it back into normal, or to use an embedding to reference data when you look up the data in your database. Okay, and so that was something that I was confused about. There are these other models you'll come across called instruct models. If we go over to Azure AI, apparently I have not launched up an Azure AI Studio Hub, but let's go ahead and do that really quick. Just showing you how easy it is to move between clouds. Let's go ahead and name a resource group. That's how everybody names theirs, right? They just hit the keyboard because it's always a
Yes.
long day, right? And so we'll go ahead and hit review create, and we'll go and create that in the background. And maybe in a moment, hey Roger, how you doing? We'll go take a look at Azure AI Studio Hub. And so Roger, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm high energy. I ate a handful of nerds before this video. They were like I went to the store and they were like this special kind of nerds I've never seen before. It was like nerds, crunchy and chewy. It was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. There they are.
Those
They
the ones that
taste
pop when you eat them?
no, they taste like you're eating gum, but it's not gum. They're literal trash. I would not recommend them, but I just I saw them and I'm like, I gotta have these. I gotta have these. So I don't know. I'm a compulsive buyer, so there's something that's like kind of weird. It's like, like let's say SpaghettiOs and Oreo made a spaghetti Oreo. I don't care if it tastes bad. I'm gonna buy it for that experience. That sounds like something that we could use Gen AI to make. And if we do get Azure AI spun up and we do have it here, we could go take a look at that. But let's go ahead and launch Azure AI Studio. And if you do want to use um, something like Amazon Bedrock or Azure AI Studio to start working with models, just understand that you have to get access to these models. I know Azure AI Studio, it takes like 48 hours. You got to fill in a weird form before you can do it. Amazon Bedrock's a lot faster. But this is what all the cloud service providers are doing. They're trying to make it easy for you to work with. If we go back over here, with all these different types of models, right? So again, we said there's a garden or library of model. And I chose the word garden strategically because if you're over in Google Cloud, you can see I'm just all over the place here today. If you go over to Vertex AI, it's all the same thing, but they like to call their collection of models a model garden. Yeah, right here. So yeah. But if we go over to Azure AI Studio, we're in here and we'll go to the model catalog. And here we can see we have a bunch of different models if it decides to load here anytime today. And so somewhere in here, we should be able to find one called instruct. And only if you can type correctly. And so here we'll see instruct. And so instruct is a type of large language model, a foundational model that's been trained a bit further to accept instructions. So it already knows it's not going to just like be aloof when talking to you. It's going to be like, give me instructions or tell me what you want me to write instructions on, right? So it's fine tuned for that purpose. I never use them, so I don't know the purpose of it, but I'm really curious now. This because I have the image of an Oreo and a SpaghettiO in my head. I want to go over to, let's say, generating out a graphic here. And I'm trying to find it here because it looks like they changed the menu on me. But somewhere in here, there is, you know what? We got to go into a project. That's why we can go and try to see if we can generate out a generative image. So, I guess I got to make a project too. And yep, that's an okay name for a project. So we'll give that a moment there. But I don't know. Is there any information, or am I just all over the place today?
No,
It's
no
great
different than any
information.
other time we talk to you. So,
So I'm as chaotic as a person in the comments as I am on stage. But yeah, our project is spun up, and on the left-hand side we have images, and so there are many different types of generative AI models for this. And so I'm going to go ahead here. We have Dolly 2, which I think is newer. I'm not sure, but I'm going to say Spaghetti. Actually, I don't think it's newer. Spaghetti and Oreo mixed into one. Let's see that product. Unsupported, I'm in the wrong region. And that's something that I encounter a lot with Azure, is that you have to know where these things are deployed. For some weird reason, most of their models are only accessible in Sweden. I don't know why. Something the Swedes are doing over there. Sorry, yes?
That's interesting.
I know, right? So, but you know what? If we can't make images in here, we can go over to Amazon Bedrock and do it over there as well. I'm so insistent to generate an image of Spaghetti Oreo. We'll go over to here, and we'll just go ahead and select a model. And I have Stability AI, and I think Amazon has their own, which, by the way, Amazon is awful at making models. They're just horrendously bad. And you might have heard of like Alexa. I have like one in every room and in the bathroom as well. Doesn't matter where it is. There's an Alexa in the room. And so, I think that we're going to see AI powered Alexa, and it's not even using their own model. It's using Claude. So it shows how much confidence AWS has in their own model. We'll go utilize SDXL, which is Stable Diffusion XL. And let's go ahead and see if we can create Spaghetti and Oreo as one. And I'm thinking this time we can do it. Do we just want one? Yeah, one's fine for now. And we'll go ahead and generate that out. I wish I had water. I don't have any water. It's empty here.
so
That's not what I wanted, but
That looks like something Buddy the Elf might like.
yeah. So, but you can see here that it's always hit or miss. But another one that we could also try is Grok. So I'm not sure how much people are using Grok these days. And I'm supposed to be in Twitter, right? Let's forget it. But let's get back onto our roadmap, as I'm just all off road here. And so now we're here in types of models, and obviously there's lots of kinds out there, but where you're going to find a lot of benefit is getting into the open source world of models, because there's so much interesting stuff out there. There are ones where they have zero guardrails. There's one called Dolphin, Dolphin LLM. Okay. And I'm not sure. Yeah, it's here on Hugging Face, right? Dolphin LLM, and it's known for having no safeguards whatsoever. So if you've ever used Claude Sonnet, have you ever ran into this, Damien, where it won't do something that you want because it says, "Oh, I feel bad doing this." So I'll say like, I'll give you an example. Give me training data that has spelling mistakes and talks rudely to me. Rudely to me. And I probably spelled rude wrong, but we'll give it a try here. I will not provide training data or examples. So it won't do it. Yeah. So, but if you download this one, it'd have no problems, whatever you want, right? So I don't want to say anything really bad, but I'm just saying, like, if you want to do some stuff, this is the model here, or don't use this model because it's a bad model. There's
That
another one
sounds
out.
terrible, though. Like, you could really just have it do anything.
You could have it do anything. Yeah. I mean, as long as the data's in there, like there's no safeguards whatsoever. And so there's people out there that think like, um, they're, everything should be whatever, right? Like there should be
Free,
no
should be
restrictions,
open.
which I
Mhm.
don't know why they think like that, but I don't know.
I mean, listen,
I'm
ChatGPT and all those, they put in these usage parameters for a specific reason. I mean, you
Yeah.
definitely don't want to use a model that's going to offend anybody or say something offensive, you know.
It's not even really about offending to me. It's about causing like actual harm,
Harm.
harm.
right?
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
I remember when ChatGPT first came out, I was asking it, how do I make right? Like, why not? And that could cause actual harm. So yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
yeah.
And that was the example I was thinking of. I just don't want to get you demonetized. And so
Sorry.
oh, it's okay. It's your bread and butter there. But there's another model out there called Granite by IBM, and their model is trained on data that has not been that's like 100% like they're allowed to use it. It's not like stolen copyrighted materials or questionable materials. And so their thing is that they can prove, because it's truly open source. It like they can show you, like they can tell you exactly what training data was used, so that there's no dishonesty going there, right? And so that one's kind of a very exciting one, but I have yet to take it for a spin. But there's that. There's edge optimized models. So there are models that are coming closer to working on our phones. So that should be very exciting, right? I think that hardware is evolving. There's a company called, I think they're called Qualcomm. They're the one that makes Snapdragon um, uh, uh, chips and things like that. And so models are being fine tuned specifically for these low powered, low CPU devices, but they're obviously the architecture supports it, which is interesting. So once you
Isn't that what they've
know,
been advertising about the new Google Pixel with?
I don't know, but I would assume that they are AI powered, right? I would assume that they could handle those workloads. And we could talk also about AI powered or AI PCs, which are going to be a big thing soon. So I'm not sure if anyone's heard this term yet, AI PC. I'm not sure exactly I think it's like all the big hardware companies, but here Intel's talking about it, right? But the idea is that an AI PC is one that is equipped, it like has architecture that is designed specifically for running. Like even if you don't know how it works, like let's say you download the model and some program just calls it, it can do it. If you have a Mac M1, right, or M2, M3, M4, technically that's an AI PC because it has that weird combo of CPU, NPU, GPU, right? But I think that the big chip makers are making it more like they're doing something extra there. But Apple is obviously innovating there. But we
So,
saw a little bit. Serious?
Andrew, I have a curious question.
Yep.
Out of all the providers that have been making these models, which one do you think has had like the leg up and is best in the industry, and why?
I mean, it really depends on your, that it depends comes question. It depends on your use case. I can tell you what my favorite ones are. I really like Cohere because it has it's fully managed. It's serverless. It has a great developer experience. You can download the model. So if you want to eventually deploy it in your own infrastructure, you can do that. It's not open source, but it gives you a lot of great stuff, right? So whether you want to, and you can use it in any of the models of service. So to me, that one gives you the most flexibility. It works really good. It's a good size. Not a lot of people are talking about Cohere for some reason. I don't know why, but I think it's because they don't have an AI powered assistant, right? So Cohere is one that the Command R, that's their models, Command R, Command R Plus, I think are definitely worth checking out. And I've had great performance with it. Gemma 2 by Google is really good as well. I think it's open source, but or it's at least you can download it. And so That one performs extremely well, but it is a bit more of a memory hog than Command R. But yeah, it just again depends on your use case. I would say that you can take if you know how to fine tune a model and do more of the ML stuff, you can make these tiny models like sing, right? That you wouldn't even care about, choosing the best model because you can just fine tune it for your needs. There's a company called Predabase, and their platform is all about fine tuning models at cost. And so there's a bunch of models on here that you can fine tune. And I think they have a good graphic somewhere here. I'm not sure where it is, where they just talk about, I'm not sure where it is, but they talk about fine tuning a model versus one of these larger models and that they're outperforming. And I don't mean like maybe they are. They're
Mhm.
outperforming these larger models at a lower cost if you just spend a bit of money, right? And so I think that if people knew that, that they would they would find this stuff a lot easier to use. Or another thing is like if you just know how to do optimization, like how to make it run good on your hardware, then that would be another thing that would be very useful. So one thing that I've been really learning a lot about is OpenVINO. So OpenVINO is, I think Intel owns it now, or
Mm-hmm.
not owns it, but they manage this project. And what this does is it allows you to optimize models, not just large language models, but models, ML models for different hardware. So obviously Intel hardware, but it also does ARM. It does other GPUs and MPUs and things like that. And so I have a Mac M1. That's not a new computer. That's 2021, and that's old in terms of AI, the AI powered PC thing. But I was trying to run Whisper, and I actually had that somewhere here, up here. So I'm trying to build. I'm building this video game to learn Japanese, and I want to be able to just say the words, and then it recognizes that I said the word. And I'm trying to do this on my Mac M1, and so I downloaded the Whisper model, and, and when I ran it, like here's the code for it. When I ran it, it came out to something like 4 or 5 seconds. But if you're playing a video game, that's not responsive enough, right? And so running it through OpenVINO, it did something to it. It converted the underlying code to be better for. I think it just swapped out specific libraries with Intel optimized libraries, and it took it down to like 1.1 seconds,
Mm.
right?
Wow.
So, and sometimes under that. And so, if you know how to do optimization, and it's really not that hard, you can do it. The only caveat is that you have to have enough memory to do it. So when you're doing the optimization, you might need more resources temporarily, but once you have that optimized model and you download and you save it, you can you'll have those gains in performances. So you could optimize it in the cloud and then download it for your local inference. But there's also another. I haven't spent much time with this yet, but it's not Deep Spider. It's no, it's not Deep Spider. It's called Deep Speed, right? And so this one claims it's by Microsoft. This optimizer claims that it can greatly boost um, 15 times the LLM speed of these models, right? And so this is one that I need to play around with. But I'm telling you, I'm learning this stuff in days, right? So people are going, "Oh, this stuff is hard, whatever, whatever." I'm like, it's not. It's just trying to find working code examples, because that I think is the hardest part about working with this stuff programmatically, is that you have to have a notebook working, and you got to install Conda, and you got the wrong version of Python, and then you download Hugging Face and it throws an error, and you're like, "What is this error? I don't know." You ask ChatGPT, and it tells you to install CUDA drivers, and you don't know what CUDA is, and you're just
Right.
like, "I just want to get a working example," and then the code example is like really too complicated because the person that was making it is like their background is like they're an academic, so they're like, let's make a cool complex example, and I'm just like, I just need a simple example. So I've been building these out, and so like here with Transcribe Whisper, just as an example, I just kept working step by step. So here I just use the Whisper library directly, then I use Hugging Face, then I use it with OpenVINO, then I use it with OpenVINO with quantization, which is a very hard word to say. It sounds like Welcome to the Quantumverse. You know that movie
Yes.
with Ant-Man?
Yes. Yes.
Welcome to the, I don't know what it is.
Quantumania.
And then use it with
Quantum.
GPUs.
Quantumania.
Quantumania. So yeah, I'm in the
Yeah.
Quantumania here. And so, I think if you take the step-by-step approach, but the best notebooks I found so far has been these OpenVINO notebooks. They're amazing for learning because of the reference material. Before this, I was paying a subscription to like on Medium to get notebooks that might work. And then I found this, and these almost all work. And they're for so many use cases, right? So this is a very exciting way programmatically to start working with large language models, if that makes sense.
Well, I think part of it too is for a lot of people when it comes to learning about AI, they jump into a tool and then they use the tool and then they stop using the tool. But the problem is that they haven't actually thought through of a particular use case. Okay, I want to be able to do X and the end result should be Y. How do I get there is whatever road you want to take and whatever tool you need to use to be able to get to that end goal. But if you don't have a particular use case to begin with, then all you're really doing is just playing at that point. And that can get old after a while.
Well, and I think that's why a lot of people might hate GenAI because they don't have a use case for it. And I only started liking it when I actually had something to apply for. As I said earlier, I'm trying to learn Japanese, and I'm paying for a Japanese tutor, and I want to optimize my time in between there. I want to get practice, right? But I can't. I'm not going to pay another person to practice with when I have that person. So I was like, okay, what if I can use a chatbot? And I started doing prompt documents in Claude and telling it like, okay, I want you to, I probably have it open here. We can go over here in a second. But I would say under projects, let's go over to here. Yeah, here it is. So we have JP sentence constructor, and we go over to here into my prompt document. I tell it like, hey, look at my prompt examples. This is how I want you to reply. And you are a Japanese language teacher, and your objective is to help me with English input. And I want you to be concise, avoid praising, encouragement. I like it when my teachers are mean to me. I like to be treated like garbage. Seriously, it helps me stay motivated, right? It's like, why are you even learning this? Get out of here, Claude wouldn't do it, so I had to, as you saw earlier, I had to tell, be concise.
Yeah.
You know
We
what I
will
mean?
make no assumptions based on this knowledge.
Okay. So
So
anyway,
the prompt
so
document.
yeah. So for a prompt document, yeah. So, I have teaching instructions here, and I'm telling it like, okay, because I kept having to iterate because I kept doing things wrong. So I'm like, don't write to me in Japanese. I don't know it yet, right? Just because you're Japanese teacher, don't write everything in Japanese. I don't know a single word. I have a limited vocabulary. Show me furigami, whatever, and don't tell me the answer, right? So like, if I gave it a sentence that I wanted to translate, so I'd say like, let's say we want to translate let's make this a bit bigger here. We'll say, I want to eat a lot of ice cream today, right? I hit enter, and I told it to give me a cheat sheet, show me structure, show considerations, and then I'll just be like, okay, just tell me the answer, right? And so it should not, so it won't tell me the answer, right? It's like, sorry, I'm not going to tell you the answer. You're going to have to work through it. And so I had to piece by piece do that. And so that was one of the many projects that I built. But, coming back to, to what Roger said is like, this was driven by need,
Yeah.
right? And it's unbelievable, like how interesting it was. So like that was one project. Another one I made was sentence constructor, which, oh no, sorry, that's the same project, Q&A enhancer. So another thing I was doing with a Japanese teacher was I'd have a Q&A, right? A thing that I would have to say, or so she would say, and then I would reply. And, I was finding that I wasn't very good at pronouncing. And so I made a mini app using Gradio. I wonder if I can get this running here. I'm all about live demos, as you can see. I'm not afraid
Oh,
doing
yeah.
live demos. I don't know why people are afraid. Just have a lot of apps, one of them will work, So
Yeah.
So I'm just starting to think, how do I start this here? I'm not even sure if I ran on this machine before. Let's go ahead and try it. Streamline, is that even installed? It's not. So we'll go ahead and install that. Python hyphen, oh no, it's not Python. Pip hyphen R, or sorry, pip install. My primary language is not, am I just here by myself now?
No. I the little picture in picture was obfuscating the bottom of the screen.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
No. I just hit
Okay.
us so we could see the screen.
I see. I see. So like here, I'm going to do like a pip hyphen r requirements. I could launch this in Gitpod. I usually use Gitpod for this, but it only takes a second. But Streamlight is something I learned. There's two, Streamlight and Gradio. So this one's really, I mean, it's okay for what you want, but like Streamlit, if we'll open up here while this is installing, shouldn't take too long, is a fast way to build apps. And so people in the data world, they just want to have an app. They don't want to learn how to code. And so this thing allows you to write interfaces in Python, right? So if like you wrote this, it would produce that. And they have this huge gallery of components. But the one thing that they optimize this on is that because they have so many examples, they made it so that when you use ChatGPT, it's really good at making apps for you, right? And so you basically can say whatever app you want, it can basically produce it pretty close in Streamlit. It's not like as good as you making it yourself, but it can get a prototype in seconds. Another competing one is called Gradio. It's a little bit different. Gradio is more useful if you want to give someone a link to you, like build a prototype, and you give them a link and they can start working with it. And so this was something that I found out about. But anyway, let's go back and see our install and see how that's going. And it might be done. It is done. And so I'm going to go ahead and there's two parts to this app. So I'm just going to go ahead and open up the server first. And so we'll say Q&A enhancer. And so this one's going to be Python main. Is it Python? Is that my command? No, see, it's Python 3. Python 3 server. There we go. Okay, so, and this is why I have all these backups here, but I can do the same thing over here, and we can go over to GitHub, and we'll just go to Omen King, JA teacher. That's what I love about the cloud. It's like I got all these backups. I got Shala hooked to Gitpod. If you've never used Gitpod, it's great.
I've not used it, but I hear good things about it from her and Chris.
Yeah. So yeah, you just press the button and it spins up here. And the nice thing is, like, obviously this one's janked. I've been doing all these weird installs here. But like, you get a fresh environment every single time. Doesn't have any AI stuff attached to it though, unfortunately. We'll go ahead here and I'll just go ahead and try this again. So this will be Q&A enhancer. And this will be pip install -r requirements. Oh, that's hard to spell. I need AI for that. And so this should install pretty quickly. And while that's installing, we'll go back and take a look at our roadmap, which we're over here. But yeah, I was talking about, like, after you learn about the types of models, then you might want to use a model as a service. And that's where we saw Amazon Bedrock, right? Or Azure AI Studio, where they have a bunch of models in their model catalog that you can deploy. And these are great because they're trying to like buy you into their entire ecosystem. So they go, oh yeah, you deployed a model. Now, if you want, we have prompt flow, which gives you a way of orchestrating multiple LLMs with other stuff. Or if you need RAG, everyone talks about RAG, retrieval augmentation generation, which, by the way, is like, I thought there was more to it. I kept thinking like there's more to RAG. It has to be some kind of weird thing with vector databases, but no, it just means like going and get data from anywhere.
Yep.
And like it's just like it's like a fuzzy term. And so they have like a built-in RAG thing, Azure AI Search, and it's okay. But you know what I find is that there's so many good open source products that I don't even really need all the stuff that they're providing here. Unfortunately, I've made full courses on the entire scope of these things, and I'm going, that's nice, but once you know how to use Llama Index or LangChain, which takes a day, which has a same functionality, you're literally saving like tons and tons of money. So I'm not even sure why companies are going to use this. To be honest, like Amazon Bedrock's okay, Azure AI Studio is really good, Vertex AI is amazing, but why when when cost is such an important factor? We'll go over to here, and again, I just want to show this because I never get to show anyone my little projects, and I love to show them off. And so here I'm going to go ahead and type in Python 3, and this will be server. So there's the server. There we go. See, no problems over there. And we'll go back into Q&A here. And this one's going to be Streamlight Run app. I cannot believe that I'm like so reliant on my memory. It's terrible. I should write things down. So we're gonna open up maybe this one. Nope, it is this one here. And there it is. So like, here's an example where I told ChatGPT, said, go make an interface. And I said that I have this format of documents, right? And if I press this, I'm not sure if you hear it, but it's playing the sound. And so I can go over here and say, show me the Romanji, break down the grammar, things like that. And this really helped me drill and prepare. But where I used large language models was to take the format from my document. So I have like study documents like this, right? And then I had to figure out, okay, how am I going to take this document and then translate it over? And then I asked like something like ChatGPT or Gemini Pro, which is by the way really good with PDFs, to translate it over to format so I could insert it into here. And then obviously like audio, which is speech to text or text to speech, is Gen AI. It's not a large language model. And in here, in my Q&A enhancer, I have like a Ruby script, and it will go out to it just uses AWS Poly. So like AWS Poly is very cost effective for the scope that I'm doing here. It will go out and get me the Japanese audio and the English audio so that I can just press the button and then say it. Because if you're learning Japanese, it's hard to remember the sounds of the letters. So like you read it and you'll say like you maybe say you think it's like teimas, but I might say taimas, but I'm supposed to be saying teimas, and I need to hear that. But yeah, I have all these little things that I'm building, and it's all powered like parts of it from Gen AI, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've had a few questions in here regarding your upcoming boot camp. Is there any information you're able to share?
So the boot camp is going to be either I think it's going to be the third week of January. So we're giving ourselves a lot of time to prepare to make content. I'm trying to make it for all levels because there's people that are coming in and they might be where you are at, where it's just like AI powered assistant, right? And maybe that's all you want to do. You just want to max that out. And so I want to have a track for that, you know, or whatever. But yeah, third week of January is the boot camp. It's a 6-week boot camp with multiple tracks. Yeah.
Oh, amazing, amazing. So do you have a syllabus available for that yet, or is that still to be
I,
announced?
I have one. The way I build out my curriculums is I build them in the open, and so right now it's under review with multiple people that I'm talking to that are more knowledgeable, like academics in the space. And so I should be opening up that curriculum soon and gathering feedback and then fine tuning it because I want to make sure whatever I'm producing is what people want to learn, right? So.
Right. Okay.
Mhm.
Excellent. Thank you.
Um, but yeah, so once you're through all of this, the next part is going down and actually getting to the nitty gritty, because then you're going to want to know actually how to run these locally, because you'll find out when working with these things, like with Amazon Bedrock or whatever, they're charging you for input output tokens, right? Or overall tokens. And at first, that doesn't sound like a lot, but if you want to make a production application, it starts to add up, right? And so then you go, okay, how am I going to save money? How am I going to save money? And then you look at deploying it on GPUs. So maybe you might deploy it to something like Ori, right? Like over here, Ori IO. I don't know if that's what it's called.
That's a really great video
Mm,
game, by the way, Ori.
I've never played it, but I'm sure it's really fantastic. I'm not allowed to play any video games until I've mastered JLPT3, because I feel that I won't. I'll just quit my language studies. So Um, so I'm so video game deprived. Like I made my own video game for learning, like language learning Japanese. I'm so deprived. I'm not kidding. Like you think I'm not kidding? I'll pull it up right now. Let's
No,
detour,
no, no. I
detour,
believe you. I
detour.
believe you. I believe you.
No, no, detour, detour. But but anyway, so like this is a platform where they just specialize in giving you compute for acceleration, and so they'll have like Nvidia or maybe Intel chips or whatever here.
Mhm.
And based on your use case, that could be cost effective. But what's something you could do is you could literally buy a computer. This is a crazy concept, but you buy a computer and you hook it up to the internet, right? And you just let people access it that way. You run it in a single region, because this stuff gets really expensive. And like when you're trying to build this stuff out and trying to find business use case fit or what product market fit, that might be something that you want to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, cloud how do you say that second word? Cloud
Patriation.
repatriation, right?
Yes.
And I feel more of that coming, especially with these hardware demands that organizations are having. And we could go talk about how bloated these CSPs are becoming, and they haven't really delivered on that promise of that 12 years after we've been using their platforms. But once you start downloading, you might say, okay, I want to work with LangChain and Llama Index and have all this flexibility, and go to Hugging Face where we can download all these crazy models. Like I just want to run Japanese speak really good on my computer, and so like somewhere in here, I think it was talk check here. I was downloading like a distilled version of Whisper, and then there was like another one that was made by a company in Japan that was specifically for Japanese for the for Japanese like a corpus of Japanese it was trained on.
Mhm.
And once you get into that, you get like, and then you think, okay, now I can optimize that model. And so now you get that performance down really, really low, and now you have a thing, but you now have to deploy it on your own hardware, right?
Yeah.
Or somewhere. So, one platform that I find that is really useful for that is Intel Tiber Developer Cloud. I don't know if NVIDIA, I keep looking to see when NVIDIA and AMD will do the same thing, but Intel Tiber Developer Cloud, it just used to be called Intel Developer Cloud, but they threw in that Tiber. It was a, it's a weird, I don't know, it's a weird marketing. I think it's like all their chips have weird names like that. And so there's, oh, well, we got to throw that in there too. I thought it was a
Yes.
chip at first. Yeah.
Well, it
But
gives them something to trademark, right? You
good
know.
point.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So Tiber, what does that do for us?
Well, so Tiber is nothing complicated here. It's just they have compute here, like virtual machines and bare metal. One thing I really like here is that they have this training facility. And so, like, let's say you wanted to work with MPUs, AI accelerators, those things that are really expensive. This is like one of the few places that you can work with enterprise AI inference. Like for whatever reason, they're making it available for now. I keep circling this. This is not Gaudi. Here it is, Gaudi. And so, I think that is just like, for whatever reason, Intel's making this available. I think everybody should try this out because it gives you an idea of like how fast these things can be. But, I'm just saying, like, if you were to build your own workload and build your own computer, I think most compute you can use AMD and stuff like that, but Intel CPUs are one of the most cost effective and easiest entries without having to buy GPUs or buying really expensive MPUs. And so, you could buy a mid-tier computer, but you could try to find the CPU on here first, right? So you have the same CPU and run it. And then if it works here, then you can go buy that hardware and commit to it and then put it in your place. So that's kind of how I look at this platform. They're trying to make it something more like, oh, you could do everything, but I'm like, no. you only got 2 regions or 3 regions. Oh, they got 3 regions now. So, I look at it as a way of exploring that hardware. Could you do it with AWS? Kind of, but they put so much stuff on top of theirs thing. I feel like it's not going to really mirror that infrastructure. So this is just kind of a way of playing around, so to speak, right? So, but yeah, there's a lot of solutions. Whether you want to do serverless or mirror your own hardware, but I think hardware is something that's like super, super, super important to know. Like, I think that you should know the difference between a GPU, a CPU, and an MPU. You need to know about these underlying frameworks because when you start to get into this stuff here, it comes down to optimization and what can you run it on, right? And so I think that and I've been spending the last year becoming more of a hardware person. I'm not sure how well you folks are with your hardware knowledge, but I'm always like the last to remember any of this stuff. Or
I haven't done anything really hardware related in a long time. So, you know, I spend a lot of time in Azure or AWS.
so, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff to here to talk about. But yeah, I don't know. What do you think about the roadmap? Does it feel good? Are you excited about it?
Roger, what do you think? And you're on
So
mute. Oh, there you go.
considering I only saw a portion of it when I got here, I haven't really had a chance to digest the whole thing. But it
Okay.
does look pretty impressive from the standpoint of, I mean, this. It looks like you put a lot of time and effort into, drawing out this particular piece. I'd be interested in seeing it, getting a copy of it so I can look at it. But
Yeah.
Well,
for
and
the
I
most part,
actually
it's
think
nice.
this one's publicly accessible. So,
Okay.
you know,
Is this what
we could.
is this yours, or you're using this for the towards that training class you're doing in January?
So this is my GenAI roadmap, which will turn
Okay.
into a GenAI Essentials course, which is the prerequisite, so that you learn all this first, like like get that foundational knowledge in there, and then we
Beautiful.
go build projects, right? Because
Yeah.
I want the bootcamp to be about applying this knowledge.
Good,
So
good.
yeah, it's common, but this is kind of my like process when I'm making content. Is I like to kind of like have a roadmap, and then do series of content, if that makes sense.
That is that, and not for nothing. I think that's the best way to do it too.
Hmm.
Getting that foundational knowledge first before you get into a boot camp situation. There's nothing
Hmm.
worse than walking into a boot camp and it's hands on, and you're like, "Well, what's an LLM?" No, we have no time to teach you that right now.
Hmm.
Right.
you
Right.
you got to
Yeah.
go to the foundations course, and then you can
Hmm.
come back. You know,
Yeah.
so that's really good. I like it.
Hmm.
Actually, I think I'm supposed to be signing up for that January course. So
Okay, go for
yeah,
it. Yeah,
you know.
but we gotta open that registration there. We just gotta get that funky website up. I'm known for having ridiculously ugly websites. I think like the uglier you make it, the more people will want to come and take a look, right? So, but
Of course.
there's if you want to see a really interesting website, I'll show you this. It's called for those who don't know, I live up in Scriber, Ontario. I call it Nowhere, Ontario, because I live at the top of Lake Superior. Nobody lives here, but there's a place called the Hungry Moose. And it's they have some food there and stuff like this, and this is their website today. So very very modern. But you know what? Most progressive tech user in town, besides me. So, but it's functional, it works, it's great. But yeah, so if I can beat that one out, then I'm going to be in a good shape there. But yeah, there's just sorry. Yes?
I was gonna say, I think you would actually have to try to have it look worse than that. Like that would be an intentional choice.
So, but I mean, hey, I gotta have some long nights with Gen AI here, but
Yeah.
like in terms of it taking people's jobs, no, like it's so much work to build a pipeline, to fine tune a model, to get it to do anything. We see these impressive things like ChatGPT where it's doing reasoning, but really all they've done, like even the new one, ChatGPT 4.0 Mini, that seems like it's so smart. All they've done is built out like an orchestration platform, like a state machine to like, because it's probably as dumb as before, but just passing it to itself, back to itself, and reasoning until it gets to results, not like a single model file that you download.
Mm.
And so there's just so much engineering and work to get the result that you want. But all the stuff is the same. If you're going to deploy a large language model, it's MLOps, which is very similar to a DevOps pipeline, right? You are still writing Python code. You got to write lots of Python code. You still have to know how to work with data. To do anything good with models like fine tuning, you got to know how to do data pre-processing, data wrangling, all that nonsense. So nothing new, but it's these LLMs and these other things are interesting, and they are. I think they're a good stepping stone for people that want to get into machine learning, right? Because they're a generic model that can do a lot of things, but then you find out there are more optimized models that aren't LLMs, and we get off that hype train.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
So we're almost out of time. There's
Yep.
there's one last question that is very off topic, and that is, what's the last video game you played before learning Japanese?
I was playing my PS2. No, it's not like that long ago. I just
Oh,
happen to
okay,
have a
okay.
PS2. Yeah, no, it's not.
Okay. I was like, good Lord.
No, 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 no. The last game I was playing was on my PS2, and it has to do with dragons. It's a RPG dragon PS2. What's it called? Oh, it's like Legends of Dragoon, I think. Legends of Dragoon, the video game. There it is. Actually, it's a PS1 game, but I was playing on my PS2. Great game. And the reason why I'm playing a PS2 is because I don't have a good GPU.
Mm.
So I can't play anything modern on my computer. And so I've just lied to myself and saying, no, the old games are better. So
That's fair. That's
as
fair.
my yeah, so
I've got a PS5 I haven't played in maybe 9 months, so you know.
mm. But yeah, so I'm just hoping that if I make enough Gen AI content, maybe I'll get a GPU and I can play a modern game.
Yes.
This is just the biggest grift to get a GPU so I can play the most modern game on my computer.
Well, I've heard of worse cons, that's for sure.
Mm.
One more question. Why are you learning Japanese?
Why am I learning Japanese? Like for me, I'm dyslexic, and the greatest challenge is learning a very like the most difficult language. And so they say Chinese and Japanese or Mandarin Japanese are two of the most challenging languages. I was trying to learn Mandarin at first, but I just had so many friends that were learning Japanese, and there's a lot of good media that that has been shared with North America and Japan for such a long time. I figured that I would stay more motivated learning Japanese. And so, that's the motivation behind it for me.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome.
Awesome.
Well, we won't keep you any longer. I know you're probably an hour ahead of me at least. So
Hmm.
thank you very much, Andrew. This has been fantastic. And I really appreciate you taking the time to share your roadmap with us and kind of that mind mapping that you did on this topic. So thank you very much.
Mhm.
Roger,
It's
anything else?
yeah, it's always a pleasure, you know, talking to you, Andrew. But I kind of miss your commentary in the chat. I just
You know what? I could have, yeah, believe it or not, I could have probably multitasked this entire time doing it in the background. I probably should have, because usually I'm heckling someone, but I could have heckled myself
yeah,
this entire time. I could have managed it.
especially when you're drinking sake.
Alrighty. I'm going to go ahead and end the stream now. Thanks, everyone. We'll catch you all next time.
Good night.